Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to this week's episode of Guns and Cameras. We just finished up shooting with a very important influencer down at the Staccato Ranch in Austin, Texas, but I can't tell you who it is because it's redacted. Speaking of redacted, our next guest knows everything about redacting things, and I really think you're going to enjoy this week's episode. So let's get into it, shall we? Shooters, are you ready? Stand by. All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of the Guns and Cameras podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Best, and today we are joined with a very special guest, Mr. Dustin Wood, aka Redacted Images on Instagram. Stoked to have you here, Dustin. How about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So my name's Dustin. I'm the face behind Redacted Images. It'll probably be the first time you see my face on Instagram once this goes up. Because otherwise, redacted, black bar. Husband, father of 2 kids. Photography's always been kind of a passion of mine. I started it probably about 8 or 9 years ago now. And it's just always something that I've had as a hobby. And then within the recent, I guess I would say year and a half, it's become more of a professional part of my life as far as doing work on the side and for companies. So, but yeah, as far as that's it on me. I'm pretty simple. I like guns, like shooting guns. I go hunting every year. It's been rough lately. Me and my wife, we like to go out and camp all the time, but since we had our daughter, she's a little over 2 now, it's put a little bit of a hold on that because it's kind of hard to camp with a little baby.
It does change your life a little bit. Let's go back 8 or 9 years. You said,
yeah, we can do
you've been
that.
shooting photos. So take us way back to what was your first camera? How did you get started? And let's just start from there.
Yeah. So my first camera. So I'm a Nikon person. I feel like there's not a whole lot of Nikon people, or we get kind of shit on for it. But I started with a Nikon. It was a D3300 is what it was, and it was like one of those like entry level DSLR cameras that it comes with 2 kit lenses, and so it was like, I think I had a 24-70, and I forget what even the other size was. I don't even think I used it much, but I started on that, and it was when I was in the like kind of the local car scene, and so I was doing like car photography. Like that's what I started off doing, and it really was like it was just a hobby, and I was like, I just want to try to take photos of cool cars and like my car, friends' cars, and over the years there were like local car events and drift events, and I'd go to those and take photos, and then eventually I was like, you know what, maybe I just need to upgrade my camera. And I think it was like I had that D3300 for probably 3 or 4 years is about what I had it. And then I bought a D750, so I went full frame. And that's the camera I still have now. But then it was just, doing stuff on the side like, hey, throw me $100 or whatever, I'll take photos of your car. And at the time, like doing gun photography was never really an idea in my head because I wasn't. I guess I was into guns, always into guns, but it was never like, oh, I got my fully decked out AR and everything, and we didn't really go to the range much. It was like, hey, we go and sight our rifles in for deer season, but I still try to do the car stuff too today.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since I got that D750. It still took quite a while after getting that before getting into the kind of the more gun stuff. It was, like I said, about a year and a half ago that I really started getting into it.
Interesting. So when you were you buying guns and kind of into guns before you started buying camera stuff and picked up that up as a hobby, or did that come after?
It, in a serious manner, it came after.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, I mean, I've been shooting guns since I was like 3 or 4 years old. Like, and it was basically a passion that I got from my dad. He, like, ever since I can remember, we were out, even before I could shoot, I'd come out in the duck blind and go duck hunting or goose hunting with him. And then we'd go deer hunting. I was 8, actually, when I killed, like, my first goose, which is that one right there that
Right
is
on.
mounted. My dad was so proud of it that he got it mounted for me, and I've had it ever since. Um, but it was always like, I'd have, Grandpa's old shotgun or Grandpa's old rifle. It was never ARs or anything. And it was, how long ago was it now? It was probably 5 years ago, really, about when I got my first AR. Like, I've always liked guns. It's never been a thing that, like I said, they've always been in my life. They've always been there. It's never been a taboo thing for me to be around guns. Uh, but yeah, it was like I'd have a shotgun and a bolt action. That's what I had. And then came the AR stuff, and then it took a real deep dive after that. So,
Crazy. So at what point did you start going full throttle into photography? I mean, like, was there a point for you, or are you still on that point where you went from hobby photographer to what we call a professional or working
yeah.
photographer?
I would say it was about a year and a half ago is when it really started taking a deep dive. Um, and that was when my buddies, so they run this company over at Industries, but they have a training company as well for the St. Louis area
Hmm.
that is called Fire for Effect Defense. And it was like a thing where I've always been friends with the guys that have ran the company even before they started it. And I was like, hey, it was like kind of a thing, like I'm thinking like, well, you're going to want pictures of this. And like, I like guns. We all like guns. So let me just throw my hat in the ring and see, if I can do photos for you and see if you like it. And it's been an ongoing thing ever since that. So it's like for probably about a year, I did pretty much all their photos at all of their events. And then I picked up another client as well in the St. Louis area, which was Green Hat Tactical.
Hmm.
And I did a lot of their courses as well. And then kind of it was like I did like a bit of a rebrand at that year and a half. Like my photography used to just be, first initial, last name photography.
Yep.
Like almost everyone starts out as. And so I rebranded to Redacted Images because I was like, well, if I'm going to dive deep into the gun stuff, then I'm diving into it. And did a whole rebrand.
How did
But
you?
it,
Do you mind me jumping in here?
no,
How
go
did you
ahead.
come up with the name Redacted Images? What was the thinking behind that?
Because it was kind of me like thinking like that dorky thing, like, hey, the black bars, like being an all operator and shit is cool. So like, and I liked doing it as a joke on a lot of my photos. Like I would edit photos, like I'd take a picture of my dog and I'd black bar his face and post it on Facebook. And it was just like, I just thought it was funny. And like the operator thing was just like, it's just fucking cool. So I'm like, I'll just run with it. And I like did my Google search of like, okay, let's make sure no one else has this name first. And then it was, all right, I'll just full blown into Redacted Images. And you'll see too on a lot of my earlier photos that I posted on Instagram that I pretty much, everyone with a face, like I black bar it for the most part. There's a few here and there lately that I haven't. Uh, but yeah, for the most part, they get the black bar, and some of them, the earlier ones say redacted images over it. I used it as kind of a watermark at the same time.
Yeah, that's cool. You may be one of the you may be one of the OG pioneers of the black bar in social if you started doing it that far back. Because I'm trying to think of when I first started seeing, because it's not uncommon now. There's a bunch of guys that may have kind of stolen your idea, but
Yeah.
but I see it a lot now with the blurred faces and the black bars and stuff. But if you started doing it way back, you might be the I mean, I know that in the movies and stuff they've been doing it, but as far as social media goes, you're probably one of the OGs.
Yeah, I'm not gonna claim it. I could be. I have
Hey, man,
no idea.
Make stake your claim there, man.
Yeah,
Say,
I know, right? But it's cool to see other people doing it in their own way too, where they just like, I've seen people where they just blur a whole face where it's like a giant smear.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just always thought the black bar thing was cool from like old classified photos and shit too. Like it was just cool shit to me.
What was your kind of first big project that you were like, oh dang, like maybe made you sweat a little bit when it came to shooting the photos?
Honestly, so it's still kind of an ongoing project, but when I started reaching out to companies to, like, I got to the point where people were like, hey, your photos are like really good. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, that's good to hear. But I was like, maybe I should try doing product photography. And so I just started reaching out to companies, and Zero Tech Optics was one of the first ones to get back to me. And I was like, hey, like, I'm building a PRS rifle and getting into this stuff. Do you guys have, like, maybe a scope you'd like to send me to, like, I'm going to put it on my build and I'll take photos of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like one of those things. I got the email back and they're like, yeah, we'd love to. And I'm like, oh no, this is technically now like a $3,000 project for me that I'm getting. And that's like, for like side work, like that was massive. And like I said, I'm still working on it. I'm waiting on my new build to come back, my new action and barrel. But like, it's like I got, this piece of glass, the most expensive piece of glass that I've ever held in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like, I send them photos and I don't hear anything, and I'm like, oh, are they happy with this? Like, I really hope they are. Like, I don't want to, like, burn a bridge or upset anyone. But, like, really, it's, like, they're one of many now that I've been working with, and it's definitely, like, that helped me get the edge off of, like, oh, am I gonna, please them or not? Like, are they gonna be happy with these? But now it's kind of led to even more product photography stuff, which is always, I like doing it. I mean, obviously it's cool to get something out of it too, but I don't know, it's just it's fun to create awesome stuff and have people like it.
Right. Isn't the saying that no news is good news when it comes to creative feedback, right?
Like, you would think.
Dude, that's awesome. Well, let's dive into some of your work. I got your Instagram pulled up here, and I'm all the way down at the bottom. So this is something that I do. You may or may not have seen this, but what I like to do, it's meant to make you feel good about how much, how far you've grown. Because Instagram, if there's one thing good out of Instagram, again, it's that you have like a timeline of your portfolio all the way to the very beginning. So I got it pulled up here. I'm going to share the screen, and we're just going to go through some of those early images and right up to the most recent one, and we're going to kind of talk about some of them.
Yeah, let's do it. I haven't looked at these in so long, so it'll be interesting to see some of them.
All right.
Oh yeah, those are real early ones. Those are those are even before the rebrand.
Right. So here we are. We're all the way down here. First image is of your cat.
Yep.
What's your cat's name?
So that is Pancake, and unfortunately, she actually passed away this year. She was a old kitty cat by the time it was March of this year, and I think she was about, probably 13 years old now. Wow. But yeah, she was my first kitty cat, the first one I rescued.
That's awesome.
And She loved me and no one else. It took her a long time to fall in love with my wife, but she was one of those cats that if anyone else came to visit, she hated them, but she'd always come and cuddle up on me.
That's awesome. Well, rest in peace, Pancake.
Yeah.
You're the first image on Dustin's social, so that's awesome. And then we go straight up to looks like a Mazda 3
So
hatchback.
all these photos at the bottom. So I'll tell you now, a lot of these are not mine because these are like this was when I was like big car scene stuff, and I was posting just photo. That was my old car. So that was that was my photo. That was
That's awesome.
that was an old cell phone photo. So, but I think that one where it's at the dock there,
Let's see.
to the right of the video.
Oh, right
So,
here.
yeah, that was probably the first. That was one of the first photos, and then the one to the left of it was another photo that I took. So this was the very beginning of Dustin's video career or photo career.
Nice.
So
It's not bad.
yeah, these are weird to look at because I know it's been so long since I've done any of this. But yeah, it was really just my cars, and then the Mazda ended up going away, and I got the got the Mustang.
Nice.
There's another picture, another one of my cats in my basement when it was very dirty. So don't judge me.
No judgment, man.
That photo of the Corvette's one that I really like that I took, that red car.
Right here.
Yep. So that
Nice.
was probably one of them first photos that I took that I was like, wow, I actually really like the way this turned out. Even though it was tents in the background and stuff. It was before I knew how to do anything on Photoshop.
Yeah, that's nice, man.
And then it's cars, and for a while my Miata when I had it. I miss that car. That was a fun car.
The thing is, people don't realize unless you've tried to shoot cars that, car photography and videography is not as easy as people think it would be.
No. And I'd like to think I'm pretty decent at it because I did it for so long. But my one buddy that I learned a lot of stuff from, he's same productions. He still does it to this day. He works at Diode Dynamics, which is a local lighting company, and he still works there doing that stuff all the time. Yeah, that right there is probably my most favorite car I've ever owned, and I miss it every day.
The Lexus.
Yep, that was a ISF, so it was a V8 Toyota car that was very unsuspecting, but it was a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, so even just in the few, you've grown a lot, even just in the last few, just scrolling up from the bottom with respect to angles, lighting, right?
Yep.
Framing.
It's kind of wild to see how it changes as the years go on.
Right.
And just development of how I edit photos too has changed so much. Because I think as we almost all are starting off, it was clarity plus 100.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
then you learn clarity filter, man.
Yeah, and then you learn maybe that's not as good anymore.
Yep. Well, and I think you start to find, as you shoot and edit, you start to kind of, you're also ingesting content as well, right? Because as you're finding your niche, while you're posting all these cars, you're probably also looking at a bunch of other people's pictures of cars, and you're starting to dial in kind of what your look is and how you get there, right? As you start messing with the software, you start discovering, maybe it's not so much clarity slider. How can you increase contrast without just going straight to the contrast slider, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, look at here we are. What? Car, truck. And then it's like, what is this? Is that a laser?
No,
optic?
It's an owl.
An owl.
So it's my first ever good weapon mounted light I ever bought was a cloud defensive owl. And that was 4 years ago now, and I still have that light. It's still one of my favorite lights
Nice.
that I have. It's just an absolute tank, and always works. I could take it off my gun and throw it at my pile of logs that I have pictured there, and it just turned right back on. And it was like the first time I ever bought anything that I was like, I could really abuse the shit out of this, and it just works great.
There's a reason why Cloud has the price point they have. I know those guys, and they make some good stuff. So
yeah, I know Trent over there, who's their media guy, and yeah, they make good stuff.
Yep, I know Trent. And then all of a sudden, here we go. Right, we got guns here.
Starts diving into guns. So that was probably the first nice gun I ever bought. Was my Ace.
Nice.
My Gen 1 Ace.
Do you still have it?
I do not have that. I'm a very much a not sentimental person sometimes when it comes to guns. Because someone will offer me a generous amount of money, and I can't say no. Because I can go, well, I can replace this with something else even cooler now.
Exactly. And then here we go. And then it kind of is off to the races.
Yep.
Is this a wedding?
Yep, that's me and my wife.
Nice.
And the boys.
Awesome. Y'all look studly.
Yeah, my hair used to be a lot longer. It's still long, but it's only down to like here, not down to here now.
Nice. And then it kind of clicks, right? And then we start seeing guns, more guns, couple of
truck and car stuff in there still, but like the gun stuff really started to develop. I started to really learn how to frame and compose guns in my backyard, basically.
Yeah.
Like I literally, like that one, like I just threw it in the dirt, and I'm like, this might end up being a good photo.
And then we got this.
Yeah, I played around with Photoshop every now and then to try to make, the floating stuff that we see every now and then on Instagram.
Yeah.
And that was fun to do. It's like I like to just experiment and play with stuff every now and then while I'm editing.
Nice.
Like I've been trying to get more stuff of like my platypus, like getting this where it's like floating or something, but trying to do it in a way that's not like everyone else's photos that I see too,
Yep. That's becoming more and more the challenge is to try to find. Oh, look at this.
Yeah, me and Grantham at Shot.
Nice.
That was when I worked at a trade show company. Actually, I was setting up Hornady's booth. That's awesome. I worked for the company that did Hornady's trade show booth.
Oh, there you go. That's a big business, man. Trade show booth design and building. That's the amount that people spend on those things, bro.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like
blows my mind.
It was like in general as an events company, but like we did Anheuser-Busch's events too. They called it SamCom. It was like their beginning of the year company wide meeting, and like that meeting alone generated like $8 million in revenue.
Holy cow!
So, yeah, it's a big business. Events, meeting people, being face to face. That's a huge thing.
Yep. So we got a lot of guns. We got some like accessories. We got a lot of different technique. You're doing some studio stuff here. You're getting crazy with some of the Photoshop work, which is cool.
Yeah, a lot of that early stuff was like definitely me experimenting with a lot of stuff. Especially with like a lot of it was the Photo Room app that people use sometimes, like remove backgrounds or blur backgrounds. Oh, there's like.
I was gonna say here's the first one that I've seen on our little adventure so far.
Yeah, and that's the photo of me. So
yeah, first one.
And that was like when we ran the Dickens drill at one of the like it was like a concealed carry course that one of the Fire for Effect guys put on, and it was just cool to pass the drill.
So that's where the idea bing popped right there. Yep. That's your first one, and then I wonder when the next time we're gonna see it is. We got some more studio stuff. Oh, here it comes.
Yep, it's gonna be these right here. And that's when I swapped it entirely to Redacted Images. That's like the first. I think that photo right there is the first image after the rebrand.
Yep.
To Redacted Images.
Dude, that's awesome. I love this.
And it used to be just different too than just a black bar. I'd put a filter, not really a filter, but
Yeah.
select.
It looks like
Create,
a negative, like an
yeah,
overlay.
I would do a negative,
Yep.
and then
Love it.
go in and filter that negative to mostly just be black and white. Some of the early ones were just straight negatives,
Well,
and I didn't
dude,
like the blue.
and bro, look at this. Look at the change. It's like you look at the way stylistically how you're editing your photos, color wise, exposure wise, and then all of a sudden it's like it clicked, boom, redacted images, and then all of a sudden it just goes dark. It just
Yeah,
just
yeah, and
everything just goes dark, and I love it.
yeah, and like I've even changed too from using like that editing style. Like I still
Yep.
like it pretty dark,
It's the
but
orange and
I made my
black.
stuff. It was like pretty much like orange and black. It was a real orange and black vibe, and it felt right at the time because it was cold and winter time, and everything was not green anyway. And so I ran with that orange and black style for a long time.
Well, I wonder how long ago was this? Out of curiosity.
That would have been
I mean, I guess we could find a date on here if we click
yeah
on
that
it,
would,
right? Let's see. 93 weeks ago. I don't know why it just doesn't tell me here. What's 93 weeks?
yeah. So it was like basically
Couple
like that
years.
year and a half almost
Yeah.
because a year's 52.
Yep.
Actually, it would have been slightly longer than a year and a half, I guess.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah. So it's
Just-
been
just
almost
shy.
2 years now when I started that.
Nice. And then it stays pretty consistent. It's like boom, you found the brand, you found your direction, and it's just like you're there.
Yeah, and I tell you what, it's even just from that 2 years ago, it's been a journey, like doing all this. Like I still like anytime someone's like, hey, you want to come to the range? And I'm like, yes. And they're like, you don't need to bring your camera. Like we're just gonna shoot. And I'm like, I'm bringing my camera because I still want to take cool photos.
Right. Well, and here's an interesting thing I noticed here. So we're sliding up. You got the orange and black, and you're high contrast here, right? Really deep blacks.
Mm-hmm.
So you're high contrast, but then you start right about here. You're starting to soften the blacks.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of those too, like that is just purely based off of what the day was because, it was winter time. It was almost cloudy all the time. And then it started to warm up and it was really bright outside. So
Yep.
everything all of a sudden got way more orange and bright than that dark and eerie look that I had before. And I was experiencing that with a lot of these photos too, like that kind of orangey color. Like as of late, I feel like I've kind of fallen out of love with it, and I really changed from that.
Yeah.
But as far as like, and I had someone tell me this the other day. I was talking to some other buddies, and they're like, yeah, your photos are like really dramatic. Like I like being up close and personal. And really that hasn't changed. It's just more or less my color grading changed from this.
No, and I love that. And here's kind of and this is a question I have for you too, as we're kind of scrolling through this, right? You are full on into guns at this point. Every picture
Oh,
has got a gun in it,
100%.
right? So, at what point did you kind of go, I'm going to shoot guns? But it's like, so what I'm meaning is before you had kind of this combination of cars, you had your cats, you had, lifestyle around the car culture, but you had some other stuff in there. And then all of a sudden it's just like every shot, guy with a gun,
Yep.
gun. So what is it about shooting guns with a camera that hooked you so intensely that this is now what you shoot?
I think it was just the fact that I always had like while I was shooting guns and like shooting with friends and then like seeing photos of that at the range, like people just like just your cell phone photos at the range, and it was like I always had this picture in my head of what I wanted that photo to actually look like in the end. And so that's when I like started off just like bringing my camera to the range. Like, so those early classes were like really the first time that I actually like took pictures of people doing something with my camera. Like before that, I never really did portrait photography. Like I've never really done it. It was just cars. I felt like posing people, and I still kind of feel that way today. Like posing someone to me is weird. Like I need you to just be natural. Like I need candid photos. Like candid photos is like what I feel like I'm great at. Yeah. And maybe everyone can say that because candid photos are probably some of the best photos out there, because it's you capturing someone doing what they naturally do without them thinking about it or like knowing that you're taking a photo of them. But again, it's just like I just had that vision in my head of what I wanted the photo to turn out as, like what I wanted, like this look, like I need this like dramatic pose, more or less. Like it's hard to explain, like it's hard for me to explain, but it's just like it's just having that picture in your head, you know, and like wanting that to be on paper in front of you.
Cool.
And some of the like so some of these self-portrait ones that I took of me up a little bit higher. Yeah, like this one, like I took that one, and that's like purely me. That was purely me experimenting, because I finally got like a soft box, a light box, and because I never had one before, and I was like, well, if I'm going to do like product photography, I might as well buy one and see if I can do headshots with it.
Yeah.
And if you go up a little bit more, like me in my jacket there with the bar, or even just the mask on, like that's me taking a photo of myself, which I didn't realize how big of a pain in the ass that is.
Yeah, it sucks, man.
It absolutely sucks. I hate it, and I don't want to feel like I don't want to go upstairs to my wife and be like, "Hey, do you want to take cool photos of me while I do play with my guns?" And so it's like me just like playing on my, like hooking my phone up to my camera wirelessly and like looking, setting the timer, and then going up and posing, and then I look and I'm like, "Oh, that sucks!" So I got to do that again. And
bro, I know exactly. I know exactly how that feels, because I've done it. I've done it.
Yeah, and
yeah,
but it's always fun, like trying to learn, because it's like when I do stuff like that, like I have a vision of like what I want this to look like. Like I want it to look cool and like dramatic, and like it's just having that vision and trying to like execute it, basically. That's kind of like what started it for me, for taking camera to range. But I'd like to say that I've always been pretty decent at shooting guns. I mean, just purely off the sole fact of how many classes that I go to. Even when I don't shoot, it's like I learn something. Yeah. But it's a running joke at this point now, where I'll shoot a drill with a lot of the guys that go to classes, and I shoot it better than them or faster than them. And then I just go, "Hey, I'm just the cameraman." And everyone just kind of gets pissed that the cameraman, who hasn't shot all day, just outshot him.
Hey, you know, there's something to be said about that, though, because every person I've had on the show so far that shoots guns with a camera is actually as in love with shooting the guns physically, right? Being a participant in the action as they are just taking the pictures. Yeah. And a lot of times we're all very proficient, and that doesn't. I don't know that is a byproduct of just the love of the culture in which we are in, but I do think that in order to capture something well, right, you have to understand it.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like that goes back to talking about car culture and shooting cars, where people think, "Oh yeah, like shooting a car, that's easy." It's like, no, unless you're ingrained and invested in the culture, you're not going to be successful in shooting the cars. Right? You're just not going to have the eye, because you don't know what looks good to car people, or how to get the car in the right position. Talking about staging and posing people, right?
Yeah.
If you're not totally invested in the culture or the niche in which you're trying to be successful, you're not going to achieve success. So in order to be good at shooting guns, you have to be good at shooting guns.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And I mean it makes sense, and it's been like, I would say that growing up around it helped me a lot too with that. especially from like a safety standpoint. Like, because I'm always out here and there's like 10 or 12 guys on a line, and it's like I always do what I can to make sure I'm in a safe place, but still in a place that I can get a shot that I know that's going to look really fucking good once it comes out.
We are halfway through this week's episode, and you know what that means. That's right. It has been brought to you by 1156 Productions and by, that's right, Tokens of Valor. Tokens of Valor is my side hustle where I take things like spent brass and other parts of projectiles. I mix them with sterling silver and I turn them into one-of-a-kind, hand-forged, totally awesome wearables for both men and women. If you're interested, go find me on Instagram. It's pretty easy. It's Tokens of Valor. And send me a DM and we'll get something started for you. In the meantime, we're halfway through this week's episode with Mr. Dustin Wood, aka Redacted Images on Instagram. I'm really enjoying this episode. I hope you guys are too. So let's get back into it, shall we? You got some wicked awesome stuff here. We're landing on here. This is the most recent image you've posted.
That's the most recent pinned post.
Pinned post. Sorry, let's get to the most recent post here.
I actually posted one today, and it's
this one right here?
Yep, it's going to be that one right there that I posted today.
These. So we've abandoned sort of orange and black, and we've kind of arrived on this green and brown. I want to call it green and brown.
Yeah, and overall, it's definitely like there's just more color in general of these photos. Nice. I found in my previous, for I guess verbiage sake, the previous filter that I used, it did get rid of a lot of color, and I found that I was getting to a point where I actually kind of missed the color. And a lot of camos, like multicam, ended up being kind of more of like orangey cam, like it was orange and not green. And with the weather being warmer too, like turning all the grass brown to me, just like I wanted to just change it up a little bit. I wanted something to like kind of make me feel really good about my photos again. And changing the style up a little bit helped a lot.
Yep. So, where do you go from here? I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen here, but what do you think is kind of on the horizon for you with respect to your work?
It's definitely an unknown right now. I mean, trying to get more range photos in where I can. I reach out to more companies every day to see, like, hey, do you want to do product photography? It's a thing that I tried to interview for a company at one point. Like, I would really like to do like a media position for someone. Maybe not so much of a freelance thing. Like, I know you travel all the time to do stuff. If it was a thing where I could find a company and stay grounded in one spot, it'd be great. Just because with having the young kids, like, traveling just kind of sucks for that.
Yep.
Because I like to be home. It's especially kids, like when they're 10 and under, when you're their favorite person, like I want to spend as much of that time with them as I can.
Yeah. No,
but it's going to be finding more companies to work with. Maybe it's a thing where I do remote work for them all the time. Or just find a company to work with full time. It all depends.
Well, I know a few. If you have one of which, I could probably get you set up with almost immediately, and that's Stopbox USA. So I don't know if you're familiar with Stopbox at all, but if you want to start shooting for them, I'm the guy you got to talk to. So,
all right, well, we can talk after this.
Sounds good.
'Cause I've seen your stuff on it, so
sweet.
And I don't mind taking on new projects.
Yeah, no, I'd love to set you up with that too. I mean, because I have no qualms about your capabilities of being able to get good pictures. So.
Yeah,
That's
and
the easy day.
This is my desk that I use for a lot of the product stuff right now. Or, I take it outside, go in the backyard or whatever.
All right. So let's, this is kind of a new question. So I'm going to put this on you because I'm just curious. So if you were to self-critique yourself as an artist, right, in photography, photo, video land, where is somewhere you want to improve or you feel like you have, where you're lacking in your ability and you'd like to improve?
I definitely need to, for me, I've been practicing video stuff. I definitely need to get better into video and learning all the fancy new transitions everybody does. Because I have some videos on that Instagram and they're just like, oh, it's just a fade or whatever. There is one that I did that was really cool that a lot of people said was cool. But the other thing I know I need to do with stills is getting photos of people on not the ejection port side of the gun. That's, if you look at my photos, you'll see a lot of them are from their right on the ejection port side of the gun.
Yeah.
And, but it's like, for me, it's like I take that photo of the other side and I'm like,
It's just boring.
I don't really like that. Like, what? There's nothing here.
There's no action on that side, man.
There's nothing here for me. And,
There's no smoke. There's no smoke. There's no casing.
Yeah. Definitely doing that. I know I definitely need to work on more portrait side of things. It would be fun to do. I'm getting to the point where I'm feeling a bit more comfortable with it. Like I need to work on doing portrait stuff, but I'm waiting on Overt Industries. If you're watching this, Rob and Ryan, I'm going to send this to you, so you're going to watch it. Trying to work on portrait stuff for them for more product photography. Because they just recently got their FFL, so they're making like full rifles now.
Dude, nice.
But it's getting cool guy posed photos in a darker environment. Dark environment stuff is something that I really need to work on.
Have you gotten into any studio lighting, studio work?
I have just my one little softbox. That's really all that I've used. I feel like I've used it pretty effectively for what it is. But working on softbox stuff, like with a person there, like I know I plan on taking this light with me. I almost had it set up here. I'll get it really quick. It's literally right here.
Cool.
But it's just like one of my simple little Amazon lights, and it works. I think it was like $40, I think. Maybe not even that. But I plan on taking that with me because where we plan on shooting is basically just in their warehouse. And, well, there's no windows in a warehouse. And with the operator kind of photos anyway, when I see anyone else's, I think like that darker look looks really cool. Like, who was it? Caliber Row, like some of her stuff in the dark. And then recently when I was in March it was the Mid-Tier Snobs meet out in South Carolina at GTI. If you've been there, it's like that nuclear plant.
I have not. Sounds awesome though.
It's fucking sick, especially if you have night vision and you can walk around in the dark in there. Because there's absolutely no lights in there. But I think it was Nightfall Optics that was there also, and they ended up their photos after the meet. I saw he like had lights and shit, and he was taking photos of the guys in all their kit with night vision on, and I was like, damn it, like that would have been fun to try to practice. Like I didn't even think of that because I was like, at that point from shooting photos all day and shooting guns, I was like, I'm ready to go to the hotel and go to sleep for a little bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know that feeling. Yeah, no, yeah, man. No, that's actually, it's good that you're starting with one light. There's I forget the name of the dude. When I started doing like a lot of heavy research in studio lighting and starting to work more with lighting, one of the things that I found in my research was heavily recommended again was starting with just one, right? The less is more mentality. There's actually still to this day, I prefer in some shoots, depending on the scenario, I actually don't bring a lot of gear. Like I'll pick, okay, I have one lens and I got to work with that one lens, this one camera, and no lights or one light, right? Yeah. And I restrict what I have available to me, which forces me naturally to get creative with the angles I pick, this, how I position and where I position that light. Because I think it's really easy, like, and again, YouTube University is really great at telling you how to spend your money, right? You end up like with all this extra stuff that you you're trying to be creative with, but unless, again, talking about knowing your tools, unless you fully understand how to run that tool, you're just going to be tripping over it, right? There's a lot you can do with one light source in the dark, man. So I'm stoked to see what you come up with.
And that's what I'm learning, like that self-portrait that I took, those are all just with that one light. And even like the picture of the gun on the table, that's just, I turn these lights off and just that one light on, and it's like, you know, set it down and then, oh, well, like which way looks good with the shadows and everything.
Yeah.
So. No,
I love it. So you mentioned Caliber Row. So let's talk about who's inspiring you right now. Where are you getting, you know, we all consume content on a daily basis. Where are you consuming content? Who's your top 5 faves right now?
Yeah, if I go into my Instagram and I say my top 5, so operator overalls, love Gage. Gage is super cool. Armchair operator is another one. Yeah, Chip's a cool guy. I absolutely love his stuff because he does a lot of the same stuff that I do. He does a lot of range day stuff. And I think he's probably one of the reasons why I kind of changed how I edited, because he does do a lot of black and white stuff, but like his stuff with color, like it just kind of like, it had that pop to it. Where mine, I was like, mine's like super orange and like maybe I just want to change it. A local buddy that has taught me a lot, Greg Canoyer, G Canoyer on Instagram. He has taught me a lot of stuff, and like I love the way that he has always done his gun photos. They're very, I would say they're very simple but effective. If I go through really quick, NDE Customs _43, he's a guy that I see a lot on there.
Who's somebody, I guess, to date, here's another question, to date, who's kind of been the biggest influencer, or the biggest, I don't want to say celebrity, but celebrity, I guess. Who's been the biggest person you've had a chance to work with or shoot around?
It would have been Travis Haley, actually.
Oh, Travis.
At the mid-tier snobs meet. He was there doing a pistol class, so I ended up, like, I just walked up, I'm like, there were me and a couple other guys that were photographing, we're like, you cool if we all just take photos of this? And he's like, yeah, I don't care. So it was cool to get to talk to him and see how he runs classes and take photos of him. I can't say that I've really worked with anyone else big like that, like as far as like in a business capacity. I haven't. I guess I haven't really had like that break yet, you know. But
I think you're due, bro. Anytime. Anytime.
We'll see. I've talked to a couple guys on Instagram before, like I don't know if you know him, but like Warlord Colossus, he's like a rapper. He does like, I don't want to give out the wrong genre, but like think like Suicide Boys ish, I guess. If he hears this, he might fucking kill me for it, but like it's like that kind of like underground kind of horrorcore rap kind of thing. And I've talked to him about if he's ever in St. Louis, because he's like, yeah, dude, I love your stuff, and like I want to come take gun photos. Dude. And I'm like, well, you know, let me know when you're in St. Louis and I'm here. Like, I'll be here to take them for you. I got a range I could take you to.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about Nikon, right?
Yep.
So you're a Nikon shooter. What about it? Like, and again, I've shot on Nikon before. I've shot on Canon. I've shot Sony. I've shot a lot of different camera platforms. It's really not about. It's not necessarily about the camera, but
yeah.
But why? Again, why Nikon? Is it just you're familiar, or what's the
it literally that's what it is. It's just familiarity. I started with the Nikon, and then once I moved up to the D750, it was like all the buttons and everything were all in the same spot. So it was just like, it was just natural to just pick it up and start using it. So it was just a very natural thing to do.
Right on. What is what kind of lenses? What's your let's just talk about what's in your camera bag.
Yeah. So this basically is my camera bag. So my lovely Harbor Freight case that I had to pick up a bigger one because I got more lenses. So the one that kind of lives on the camera for now, because I use it for a lot of my product photography, is a 60 mil. Nice. So it's my macro lens.
Okay.
and I got this lens for like a pretty good deal. My buddy gave it to me for like $150. He was ditching all his Nikon stuff, and he swapped to Sony. I want to say he swapped to Sony. He went mirrorless and swapped to that. Then my other one that I use a lot is my 85, my f1.8 85. This one I haven't used in a while because I just can't think of anything creatively to use it for. Is my 17 to 35. And then the other one that gets used a lot is probably everyone's used a lot is a 70 to 200.
Yep, 70 to 200 is a big one.
And that obviously that one, the 85 and the 60, I pretty much almost use every time. Sometimes there's a day where I'm like, I'm not swapping my lens. I'm just going to keep either the 60 or the 85 on. Like, I'm not going to swap it because a lot of the range days, like, I'm up close to people, so it's like I don't really need the 70 to 200 all the time. And I really like just my prime lenses because I don't have to zoom in and out. I just walk forward or backward and just focus. But got those lenses. I got my little DJI mini drone, if it'll come out of here. My little DJI mini.
Nice.
That I've used for some video stuff
man. That's
now.
Awesome.
And, you know, all my batteries and everything to charge it with, that's always with me in this bag. Or case, I should say.
All right, so then next up is what is in the gun bag? What's your EDC?
The EDC, oh damn it, I forgot I left that upstairs. But I carry Glock 19X every day. It's super basic, X300, RMR. We all know what a Glock 19 with an RMR and an X300 looks like. Otherwise, I have my platypus that I'll have at the range with me.
Nice.
So this is like, I'm not really like a huge pistol person, but this is like my favorite pistol as far as like pistols go. I think like the only other thing I would want to get pistol wise is a Nighthawk. And then I'm like, I'm cool on pistols, like that's all I need. I'm not like a huge, I just want the one. I like the platypus because it uses my Glock mags. I didn't have to buy new mags. But shooting one pistol a lot of times makes you really good at it, so that's what I'm trying to do.
100%. I always, you know, sometimes when you see guys roll open the gun safe doors and there's just like an array of handguns, and you're kind of like, wow, that's a lot of handguns. You know, you must really like shooting handguns, and then they usually go, no, I don't. I just like to collect handguns.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, but handguns though, bro, are out of control. Well, guns in general, price-wise, are out of control, I think, but handguns especially, some of these new, I mean, I think that, again, I will go and happily spend a few $1,000s on a camera, but when it comes to spending a few grand on a handgun, it's a little bit harder.
Yeah, pistols are kind of rough for me to spend a lot of money on. That's why I was like, I went with the platypus, because I was like, oh, $1,600, like, I was going to get a Staccato P, but, like, that's cheaper. And, again, I didn't have to invest in new mags, so I was like, kind of just worked out. But when it comes to rifles, though, that's where I kind of go off the deep end. Like, so my rifles, what I'm bringing, so I got my LMT, my shovel nose. So it's my 12.5 inch.
Yep.
That's all set up for night vision and everything.
Sweet.
And it's, for me, it's like the softest shooting AR that I've ever had. So it's definitely my favorite. The new lovely T-Mag.
Yeah, love it.
And then like everything else is kind of fun. My bolt gun is not in pieces or not together right now.
Neither is mine.
I'm waiting on my action and barrel to get back to me. This one's fun. So it's my 13.9 that I just had like this stupid vision in my head. That
the top rail is crazy, man. That's sweet.
Yeah, it's that LaRue rail that makes like no sense at all, but
it looks cool.
I had to have it. But yeah, those are the main ones. I got like a 300 blackout build and stuff too, but
nice.
Those are just 300 blackout to me is a meme. It's just for shooting quietly because it's fun.
That big heavy bullet, man.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right, so what are you looking forward to? I mean, I feel like, again, you mentioned earlier that you haven't had your break yet. I feel like I said, honestly, I mean it. I think you're on the cusp. But what are you looking forward to going into next year?
Going in the next year, just trying to find more. Really, it's just trying to find more people to work with. I've like kind of put my name out there to some people, like, hey, like if you need help doing something, and like I'm around, like I'll gladly come do it. I'm gonna try to make it to SHOT Show this year, or I guess technically next year, but uh, I'm gonna try to make it out there because there's a lot of people that I'd like to meet. Just because the first time I went out there, it was like I knew Grand Thumb, like that was it. But I've talked to Chris Van Loan. Like I talked to him, I was like, hey, like, checked out your episode, and he's recently like he started liking some of my stuff on Instagram, and I was like, hey, if you ever need help with something, and or even if you're out at SHOT and I happen to end up going there, let's like hook up and do something together. But it really is like for next year, it's going to be trying to find that break, like find someone to work with that could then not just like a one-time thing either. Like it would like be nice to develop a relationship with someone to have like that constant workflow with, but that doing more range events, trying to get more people out to those. Like I'll invite friends to come out too, and doing more product stuff.
Sweet.
Sounds super boring, but like that's what it is. It's basically it's the grind in my head to get there. That's what it is.
Yeah, and the networking thing is huge, right? Like that's one thing that I think, especially in our industry, we're all kind of figuring out in the last couple of years. I don't want to make. I made a mental shift the other day. I was, wanting to be more positive, have more positive outlook about social media. With respect, look, mostly I don't like social media at all, right? To be clear, I despise most of what it's about. But
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in this like loop of saying, hey, it's hopeless to try to grow on social because of all the censorship and all the suppression and blah, blah, blah. But I don't want to think that way anymore, right? It is true. We are censored because of our content. That
Oh
is
yeah,
not,
100%.
that is 1,000% obvious. But what is something that is a proponent, which is a way to grow, again, is finding the workaround, right? That's what we are as creatives. We're problem solvers, right? Photographers, videographers, artists. We like to find ways to solve problems creatively, and this is just another problem we got to solve. And one solution is, again, networking, right? Being able to reach out to people like Chris Van Loan, like Caliber Row. Not just the influencers that are big, but the people who are creating the content, who are behind the camera, shooting the pictures that we all consume for all of these brands, right? Somebody's got to shoot it, right? And being able to make those connections is huge because those are going to be the guys that hit you with opportunities, right? Again, case in point, I can guarantee you're probably going to get at least one new job just from doing this podcast because, it's an opportunity to put yourself out there, share, hey, this is a cool guy, takes great pictures. He'd be a great dude to work with, right? It's going to give you a competitive edge. And again, I think we're all kind of as an industry learning that instead of being super competitive with each other, we should be a little bit more like, hey, it's like if you shot a wedding by yourself. If you ever shot a wedding by yourself, you understand how important it is to have somebody else with a camera there to back you up, right?
Yeah.
So not everything is a one-man job.
I'll tell you what, that's why I've never done a wedding. I've had friends ask me, they're like, you want to shoot my wedding? I'm like,
don't do it.
No, not really, because I don't want to underquote myself, and I don't want you to feel like I'm overquoting you. But yeah, no, I agree though. It's about working with everyone around us. Don't be a fucking dick to the people that you're supposed to be friends with that are into the same things realistically as you. Like, and even relating with people outside of guns. Just being a genuine person really is one of the things that I care about more than anything is like being genuine, being yourself, not hiding how you are or what you feel about things, just be an honest person. And I feel like being, honesty rewards you. It may reward you in the long run. It may reward you in the short run, but at some point you will be rewarded for being an honest person.
100%. Be an authentic person. I think for me that's a
Yeah.
huge thing. And that's again a big part of why I ended up in this industry is I cannot tolerate unauthentic people. Right?
Yeah.
I just can't. I can't stomach it. And if you're working in mainstream media, that's all that's out there. It's just this big, yeah, again, working in the gun industry, most people are wear their hearts on their sleeves, and not everybody's awesome to work with, but at least they're true to themselves, right? And I take that hands down over having to go back into mainstream media and be a closeted conservative or closeted gun lover, whatever, right?
No, I agree, and that's how it was almost at like that trade show job. It's a very event oriented job. It seems like a lot of the people there are. I guess I don't know if I want to say left leaning, but like ideology wise, they're like the opposite of me. And it's like, I basically just had to be like, yeah, no, I'm not into guns or anything here. Like, I don't know anything about that. Like, and it was just, I feel like I had a couple people there that were super cool. The salesperson that sold Hornady, they were cool. And it was like, but everyone else, I was like, I'm just going to kind of keep to myself.
Right. Okay. Dustin, we're coming up on an hour. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but we have yet to hit one of the key questions of the Guns and Camera show because
let's go for it.
I think you know it, so you may know it or maybe not. It's what is your oh shit moment? We all have one. Could be good, could be bad. But what is yours?
I think my oh shit moment was honestly it was like when I did my rebrand. I rebranded to Redacted Images and like. Seeing all the like positive that happened when I did that, I swapped from basically having my name on the face of the company to, if I want to call it a company, to Redacted Images. Like the amount of people who supported me in that, and it was just like, oh shit, like this could actually be a thing that maybe eventually that I do all the time, and then there's the compounding oh shit moments of like getting more work and then, working with companies on product and like I had my oh shit moment. Another one, I guess it was Monday. Yeah, it was Monday because I did a post with Jaegerworks because I have just their mag base on one of my mags. Nice. And they're like, yeah, just post it and invite us as a collaborator. And I'm like, oh, like, that's kind of fucking sick. And now that's probably the photo, but that one and the cloud defensive one probably have, like, the most likes on my profile. And it's like, whenever they hit, like, 1,000 likes within, like, 4 hours, I was like, oh, like, this is very odd. Like, normally I'm used to, like, I get, like, maybe 60 in an hour. And then within 4 hours, I'm at, like, 100 likes. But yeah, the big oh shit moment was just getting the rebrand and then all the positivity that came out of it from not just friends and family but like other people too on like even just Instagram. Like people were like, oh, this is kind of sick, like
100%.
Other than that, it's like I feel like I'm super boring, but like there's not really like anything else from that has been like a really big oh shit yet. And
no, dude, I think pending, right?
Yeah, pending. It could change.
It'll happen.
It's a fluid question.
Right. All right. A couple of things in closing. Give me 3 names. Who would you recommend out of your network to maybe reach out to for future Guns and Cameras episodes?
So definitely, like I mentioned them before, but Gage, so operator overalls, and then Chip, which is armchair operator. Those 2 guys, they're South Carolina boys.
Cool.
But I love them to death. I talk to them all the time. And then the other one that I can think of, Toasted Bread Actual. So he does a lot of it's like that eerie night vision photos. So he'll be
Cool.
standing there and you see like his eyes glowing, and then it's just a starry night behind him. And watching him, like when I first met him on Instagram, he wasn't doing really anything like that, and then all of a sudden he was doing it. And I think it's his style would be similar to, I think it's Twilight Echo on Instagram. Very similar styles, but I just loved how he changed that, and it's just super cool to see how he did that. So, like, hearing how he came up with that would be kind of cool to figure out, because I don't think I've ever really talked to him about it.
Sweet. We'll have to do that. All right, so last question of the evening is going to be this. Dustin, we're going to close up this episode of Guns and Cameras. What is one piece of gear that you've bought that you regret buying?
One piece of gear that I regret is
Could
gonna
be guns
be,
or cameras.
Okay, so the biggest gun that I regret, I could go with that. That's super easy. Would probably be my Keltec CP33, and because I made like this little mini MP7 at home build, and it was the biggest piece of shit that I ever had, and I hated every single bit of it. Like, it would run great for a little while, and then if you loaded the mag, it's like you had to load the mag specifically correctly, or the mag would jam up and it wouldn't run. And then it would never, when you chambered the mag, the first round would never go in. You'd have to like pull it back and futz with it, but it wouldn't have a forward assist on it, so you couldn't. It literally just needed just a push, and it would go in, and it would never do that. And then I sold it. It pissed me off.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Dustin Wood tells you not to buy a Keltec. So
I'm not. Don't hate me, Keltec. I'm just saying I hated that one gun. I'm not
just
saying
the
they're
one.
all
Don't
bad.
buy that one in particular. Just one lemon, right? One lemon in a batch of a bunch is fine. All right, man. Dustin, it's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you tonight, man. Getting to know you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Josh.
Yeah, dude, great work. Stoked to see where you go next, because again, like we've been saying this whole show, you got mad talent, you got a great eye, and I think that again, you're just on the edge of, tipping over into a full-time world of guns and cameras. So thank you for being on the show. I super
Thanks for
appreciate
having
you. You guys, if you're watching this episode and you do not at present follow Dustin, go to Instagram, search for @redacted.images and give him a follow, show him some love, look through that work, tell him how awesome it is. And then again, if you're a brand or a company watching this and you want to work with somebody awesome, here's your guy. Be sure to reach out. Oh, that is a question. Dustin, how do people get a hold of you if they do want to work with you?
So if you want to get a hold of me, obviously you can reach out through Instagram. Alternatively, email preferred. My email is dwood, so, dwood photograph, not photography, dwoodphotograph@gmail.com. And
Perfect.
those are the two ways to get a hold of me.
All right, right on. We'll make sure to put that up at the end of the show. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of Guns and Cameras with Dustin Wood, a.k.a. Redacted.images from Instagram. If you don't already follow him, be sure to jump over to his page, give him a follow, like some of his work, comment, tell him how awesome his work is, because it is that awesome. Dustin, thanks for being on the show. We super appreciate you. This has been Guns and Cameras, and we'll catch you next time. And that's a wrap on this week's episode of Guns and Cameras, and consequently a wrap on the shoot down at the Staccato Ranch in Austin, Texas with our Redacted influencer. I'm sure you'll see more about that coming up. But man, what a great episode with Dustin Wood. The guy is crazy talented, and we have so much more to look forward to as he continues working in the 2A industry. Thanks for joining us for this week's episode. Stay tuned, because we got some really killer stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. And yeah, I think you're gonna dig it. So stay tuned. Have a nice day.